With the recent announcement of the FNaF X Dead by Daylight collab, people have already started speculating on who the killer would be and how they would play out. The first thing that comes to mind, at least for me, is Springtrap. But what would he do? Well, that's what I'm gonna answer today. But I'm gonna make 10 of them because someone said 5 was too easy. But it is actually really hard. I will be needing help from other people because I'm not creative enough. I'm gonna try my best to not have the powers like super complicated or like confusing. I'm gonna try to keep them very simple and just like, you know. But let's just go ahead and get started. Dude, what? There's no way that hit me. I was so far away. Wait, what does it say on my tombstone? Damn, we're at 16k already? What the hell was that jump? Yo, thank you guys so much. If we can hit my 2025 goal of 50k, it would mean so much to me. We still have a long way to go, but it is a full year, so I think we can do it. Wait, am I just stuck as a ghost forever now? But anyways, let's get started with the first Springtrap power, which is Phantom Conjuring. Now for those that remember, this was the one that was in my concept video a while back. But looking back at it now, I'm not a huge fan of it. So I'm here to change it up a bit. With this power, Springtrap is granted 3 phantoms so you can send out in front of him, kind of like Vecna skeletons. You will also be able to switch between all of them just like the Knight can with his guards. But the 3 phantoms would be Phantom Freddy, Phantom Foxy, and Phantom Chica. And they would all apply different status effects to survivors. Starting with Phantom Foxy. Foxy will fly out the fastest when being sent out, and he will just have a simple effect of making the survivors surrounded by darkness, and their audio will also be muffled in the process. Kind of like the Dredge's Nightfall. This effect will last maybe around like, I don't know, like 5 to 10 seconds probably. Chica will fly out the slowest, obviously, but if hit by her, it will massively hinder you, resulting in you barely making any distance. This effect will last around 3 seconds. And finally, for the man himself, Phantom Freddy. Freddy will be kind of unique by the fact that he won't have an effect on survivors technically, but rather when Freddy is sent out, he will block any window he flies through for 10 seconds. Freddy will also be in the middle by having a medium flying speed when being sent out. So as I briefly mentioned in the beginning here, they would just be like Vecna skeletons, meaning that you can aim a phantom and it would shoot out right away. So it wouldn't be like an artist crow how it just stays still until you fire it. It would just be instantly out. And it would probably have the same range as a Vecna skeleton as well, maybe a bit more to be honest. Switching between them would be like Knight's guards, and they would all have their own separate cooldowns as well. I personally really like this idea because it takes the idea of like the Knight having 3 characters and makes it way less annoying to go up against. Because I don't know about you, but I really hate going against Knight. I hate it. I can't do it. And being able to like dodge projectiles is always really fun in my opinion, especially ones like these. And the fact that they don't even like damage you but rather debuff you, it makes it not super punishing if hit. Don't get me wrong, it'll still probably lead to a hit, but it's not guaranteed at least. Also, them not like physically hurting you just makes much more sense for Phantom animatronics anyway. Alright, now that I finished my first power, let's get an idea from a fellow content creator.
For my hypothetical power to a hypothetical Springtrap in Dead by Daylight, I wanted to lean more towards the speculation surrounding what type of weapon he'd use. And, like most, I picked him holding a fire axe. Now, hold on. Since Springtrap, at least in his original iteration, doesn't have a whole lot of abilities to think of, he just kinda moves around a lot, I think the idea of his power being based on the weapon he's holding isn't too far-fetched here. Okay, here it is. Springtrap's main power is called Forgotten Remnant, which is directly related to his weapon, a long abandoned fire axe left in the rubble of what once was called Fazbear's Fright. When holding the power button, Springtrap will stop directly in his tracks and prep his fire axe to be thrown. It's sort of like Huntress, where charging your power will change the trajectory of the axe throw. However, this is where it gets a bit different. The size of this fire axe is huge, and this is well represented by how it operates. If this axe is thrown and collides with a survivor, they suffer a brutal penalty, becoming injured with an additional 30-second broken status effect and physically stunned, where they are literally unable to move. In a brief second, Springtrap screams and is given the choice of performing a quick pounce in an attempt to down the survivor. Basically, if you're close enough and able to hit your shot, you'll be able to insta-down anybody that's close by. Thing is, Springtrap only has one axe, and if missed, he'll have to manually pick it back up, which in a chase can be a bit of a time waster. If he doesn't pick it up, he's essentially just an M1 killer with 110 movement speed. Like most projectile-based killers in the game, the amount of distance a survivor is able to cover and chase is key to determining their survival, and this is where my thought process went into Springtrap. His power is very high risk, high reward, and in my mind should only be used to cover distances that are attainable within a pounce or interrupting a survivor action. But I'll be honest, I also thought this wouldn't be too fun on its own. So I think Springtrap, whether or not he's even able to hit his target, after any axe throw should be prompted with this same pounce ability. It gives him a bit of movement and map presence when not directly in a chase, and this would also injure a survivor if hit with the ability, obviously. But that's not all. For Springtrap's passive ability, I wanted to emphasize this fun game of axe throwing a little. Activated after a cooldown, sort of like how the Dredge activates Nightfall, Springtrap can enter Deceptive Calling, which can randomly spawn apparitions of animatronics around the map, directly out of a player's line of sight. I just wanted to use that cool mechanic that comes from the statues in the Umoka estate here. When a survivor gets into close proximity with these animatronics, the animatronic will jump scare the player, which, like a hag trap, will move the player's camera in the same direction. The idea here is that these distractions will give time for Springtrap to coordinate the use of his main power, being able to predict where a survivor might go based on the random placement of the animatronics, and, if successful, would line up a pretty quick kill.
Okay, so personally, I actually really like this power. The idea of throwing the axe and having like a pounce-like ability is just super cool to me. Plus, I just love range killers, so this is literally perfect. I personally have nothing wrong with this power, maybe except for the fact that Springtrap might look really goofy when like performing a pounce, but honestly, that's not even a huge issue. Overall, I love this one. Great job, Lotto. Alright, now moving on to another power made by me, which is called Darkest Desire. Now for this one, it's actually like kind of complicated, but just stay with me, trust me. The main idea for this one is that I wanted Springtrap to like jump scare the player and affect them with some sort of like virus. This virus will have them like they start twitching and acting like an animatronic if not dealt with. Let me explain. This power does have a special ability with it called Looming Presence, a new special effect called Malware, and a special interaction called Security Nodes. So let's start with Looming Presence because it leads into the Malware effect and everything else anyway. Once in this mode, you are completely undetectable and you are granted a new ability called Jump Scare. Press and hold the power button to charge Jump Scare and release the button to unleash a classic screeching jump scare noise. This will hit anyone inside a 5-meter radius around you and will gain 1 stack out of 5 for Malware. Once you hit someone with a jump scare, you are forced out of Looming Presence and it goes on cooldown for around like 10 seconds. Once the player reaches a full 5 stacks of Malware, they will experience random camera movements, and if walking by windows, lockers, or pallets, there's a chance they might vault, enter, or drop the pallet due to their body losing control. To remove this effect, the survivor must boot up FNaF 1 and beat 420 mode blindfolded without no sound. To actually remove this effect, the survivor must find a security node somewhere around the map. There would be somewhere around like 5 to 10 around the map, so it shouldn't be too hard. After doing this extremely difficult puzzle, the node will release a small explosion in your radius and it will clear everyone around it. But keep in mind, this is a very important detail. You can only access the security node only after having 3 out of 5 stacks for Malware. But the little explosion will still clear your stacks no matter what you have. So you could get someone that has like 4 or something to use it, but even if you have like 1 or 2 stacks, it would still clear you because you were nearby. I hope that makes sense. But you do gotta be quick once reaching 3 stacks, because Springtrap could maybe go after you if he sees that, you know, you're like higher on stacks. He might just go for you just so you reach max stacks. Now, is this power complicated? Yes, but do I still really like the idea? Also yes. I think it definitely needs tweaking, but I just love the idea of Springtrap being silent and being able to like actually jump scare the survivors. I think it's very fitting, personally. Plus, the infection that makes you like twitch and do stuff like unintentionally is something we haven't seen before in DBD. So I'm super interested to see how that would play out. Let me know what y'all think of this. Alright, now it's time for another content creator to take over. But wait, since 2 creators here had similar power ideas, I decided to put them both right here next to each other. So enjoy.
Springtrap is an incredibly influential character, especially in the horror universe, and especially in the Five Nights at Freddy's universe. As you know, he's being added to Dead by Daylight, and my amazing best friend of 30 years, FloopTroop, invited me to come up with some powers and some abilities for Springtrap in Dead by Daylight. Now, I knew that FloopTroop was going to be doing something. My guess is it's going to be Phantoms, because he is an ununique little... Now, I wanted to do something a little bit unique. However, with my lack of Dead by Daylight knowledge and my non-prowess when it comes to the games like these, I realized I kind of just did the Hag's powers and the Knight's powers, both at the same time, but either way, it's fine. My Springtrap ability is called Animatronic Influence, aka AI. Kind of fits in the whole, you know, computer animatronic vibe I'm having here. What it does is it creates a little portal through the rift or whatever the evil thing in Dead by Daylight is called. You can smell my lack of Dead by Daylight knowledge with how I'm saying this, dude. Jesus Christ, I'm cooked. Anyways, you spawn an animatronic, and you can spawn up to 4. Freddy, Bonnie, Chica, and Foxy. And you can put them around anywhere you want in the map. Similar to the Hag, these are little alarm bells. When someone walks near it, it'll scream and it will alert you to their location. However, it will also stun the player for a certain amount of time. However, to make it a little bit different from the Hag, these animatronics also walk around a small radius around where they were spawned. That way, it's not specifically in a doorway and it can't stop players from going in a certain way. Whether or not it does damage, I don't know if that's balanced or not. I don't know. Springtrap can remove these animatronics at any time he wants, and he can also spawn new ones, but once again, he can only have up to 4 around the map at any given time. The range is quite limited, as there's 4, and I feel like, you know, if it's a huge range and you have 4 things you can put down, that's a little bit overpowered. However, it's important to notice that while you do scream and give away your location after being caught by one of these animatronics, you are not killed, and you gain a small speed boost afterwards. So, animatronic influence, best Dead by Daylight Springtrap ability you ever done seen. I am 100% sure it's not going to be added, and I'm also 100% sure that Springtrap's actual ability will probably be something with phantoms. However, I wanted to give it my go. Thank you so much for listening. On to the next one. Unless there is no next one. Should I say something else?
Springtrap is such a monumental character in the FNaF franchise, and that's what makes choosing a power for him so difficult. I do feel that there's a good way to incorporate not only Springtrap, but also the other animatronics into this power and game as a whole. As some of you may know, there's a pre-existing killer in Dead by Daylight called the Nemesis. This killer is capable of spawning zombies, which will chase after survivors. I think it would be cool if Springtrap had a similar power to spawn in the OG 4 animatronics, Freddy, Bonnie, Foxy, and Chica, to chase after survivors as well. The animatronics could chase after the survivors and try to hit/attack them. If the animatronics make a hit, it could reveal the survivor's aura to the killer for a certain amount of time. There's a lot of room to have fun with this power, and I think it could make the gameplay that much more engaging for this specific DLC.
So you can see how both these ideas were similar. Both these ideas include animatronics around the map and that they would chase the survivors. Now don't get me wrong, I love this idea with including the animatronics and everything, but there's one huge problem. The AI system in DBD is so unbelievably garbage that I try to stay far away from the AI programmed enemies and whatnot. As I said before, I love the idea, I just wouldn't want to see it because how poorly made every AI killer is in DBD. But you guys still did a great job. So moving on to my next idea for Springtrap, which is called the Night Shift. Now for this one, I want to emphasize the gameplay of FNaF by having to check cameras for Springtrap, because you never know where he will be. You'll see what I mean. For this power, Springtrap will have the ability to turn completely invisible and not be seen by any survivors. It will have a lengthy cooldown of around like 30 to 45 seconds though. It's kind of like Wraith Cloak, but there wouldn't even be like a blur, it'd just be fully invisible. While Springtrap is in this cloaked form, the survivors will constantly build up a new stats effect called Paranoia. All Springtrap will have to do is just be in this mode and everyone will have their meters being filled up. But the closer that he gets to survivors, the faster your meter will start to build up. For how Paranoia works, there'll be 3 tiers to this, kind of like how the Doctor has madness in its tiers. So in tier 1, it'll be pretty simple. You'll start to feel nervous and confused. Survivors' breathing will be much heavier, making it much more obvious where they are. Same with injured sounds, they'll be around like 50% louder. In tier 2, you start to question what's really real. Survivors will now occasionally hear skill check noises and random footstep sounds. Skill checks also might be faster in speed. Finally, for tier 3 is where the real horror starts. Upon reaching tier 3, survivors will experience random blackouts every 30 seconds to like 1 minute or so. A blackout is when the screen fades to black for like a second or two, and then it'll go back to normal. Survivors will also see hallucinations of Springtrap running either towards them, or they'll see him running away in the distance, occasionally. Also, to clarify, each tier would have its own meter building up, so maybe tier 1 is quicker, being like 30 seconds, and tier 2 is being like 1 minute, and tier 3 is being like a minute 30, or maybe even 2 minutes. But these could always change, I don't really know what to do for them. But as mentioned before, the closer that he is to you, the faster it builds up. So you can actually use this and look at the meter to see if he's like close enough, if it's like filling up faster or not, just to be safe. So now you might be thinking, well then if he's just invisible constantly building a paranoia, how do you stop him? Well, I'm so glad you asked, whoever I'm talking to. Am I going insane? Basically, there'll be these little camera stations around the map, so you go over to them and pick up a camera. Now you may place this camera wherever you want around the map, kind of think of it like the Singularity biopods. The point of these cameras is that when Springtrap enters his like invisible mode thing, he obviously can't be seen by any survivors. But while looking through these cameras, he will be visible. And that is how you get him out of this mode. Just stare at him for like a full 5 seconds through the cameras and boom, he'll be visible again. But he will get Killer Instinct on like who just revealed him, just like when someone reveals Ghostface. Keep in mind that there isn't just like an unlimited amount of cameras you can use. You would probably have somewhere around like 8 to 10 or something, probably like that. I chose to get survivors a lot of cameras so that he can't just like stay in like a blind spot and grind out paranoia. It'd be kind of stupid. And this wouldn't be the only way he can exit. Springtrap himself can manually exit his invisibility if needed. Now to not make this like a Wraith copy, Springtrap wouldn't be exiting very quietly or quickly. Instead, he will slow down a lot and let out a loud jumpscare noise, letting everyone know his location. This process to uncloak takes like a full 5 seconds to complete, so it definitely will be used to surprise people or catch them off guard. Now you also may be wondering, as a survivor, how do we bring up paranoia down? Well, to answer this, I actually don't know. I try to think of creative ways to lower it, but honestly, maybe the best way would just to have it be like slowly being lowered over time when Springtrap's in his like normal state. Or maybe like the more like good skill checks that you hit, like the more sane that you get, I think that could actually be really fun. And it's like if you hit great skill checks, it'll go down more. Maybe something like that could be nice, but I don't know for sure. I couldn't think of like a good solid way of doing this. Let me know if you guys have any better ideas. I would love to hear it in the comments below. But wait, there's still more to this power that I left out. While Springtrap is invisible, he's able to see see the progress of every gen by the intensity of the aura of the gen. Just like this Wraith add-on right here, you can see here that like I can see all the gens, and if they're the color white, it means there isn't much progress, but the more red they are, the more progress they have. This will just be base kit for Springtraps, so he has somewhere to go while invisible. And finally, Springtrap will just take all those cameras looking at him, so he has to have a way to disable them. After Springtrap spots a camera while looking at it, he's given the prompt to hack the camera. This will destroy it basically immediately and reveal the aura of the survivor that was responsible for setting up that said camera. This little ability has a cooldown of around like 10 to 15 seconds. Okay, now I thought my last one was complicated, but this one is insane compared to it. I just wanted a way to like implement like a way for Springtrap to be hidden, but also a way to introduce cameras, so I thought this would be like perfect. Let me know what y'all think of this one, because there's a lot to it. Personally, I don't think this one would actually be very strong. I think it's more like on the weaker side by like a lot, but I'm very bad at imagining stuff like this, so please let me know what y'all think of this one. But now, let's get power from yet another fellow YouTuber, so take it away, Jerakai.
Hello there. So when FloopTroop asked me to come up with a mechanic for Springtrap in Dead by Daylight, I was super excited, since coming up with mechanics is kind of something I like to do now. However, there was one huge problem. I had never played Dead by Daylight before, so I was gonna have to learn a bit. So I decided to join a Dead by Daylight tournament, and I got my ass handed to me for the next 2 hours. But afterwards, I figured out a mechanic for Springtrap. So here's the idea that I went with. Because Steelwall is obsessed with Burn Trap, I kind of decided to steal the corruption idea, which would probably be cooler than Springtrap wielding a fucking axe. But anyways, the name for this ability is called Save Them. Or whatever, I don't fucking know. So the idea I have is that after Springtrap downs a survivor, he is able to begin a corruption process, where he begins to take over the survivor after a certain amount of time. Once 2 or more players are corrupted, one player will randomly be downed once Springtrap had waited long enough. So basically the concept is Legion, but better. Now, a survivor would need to go play an arcade minigame in order to get rid of their corruption, but they could only complete it after 2 people have been corrupted. The minigames could be super cool. Like it could be a bunch of Pizza Sim style games, like the beginning Pizza Sim minigame, Midnight Motorist, Fruity Maze, hell, even if it was actually Candy Cadet, it would be so awesome. Now, I would sit here and continue to talk about some cool ideas for what the minigames could actually be, but this is Dead by Daylight, so we know that the minigames I just mentioned would not actually be in the game. And instead, it would just be watching a taskbar fill up. Oh my god, so exciting. I love Dead by Daylight. Anyways, that's just my take on what Springtrap's mechanic could be. I don't really know enough about Dead by Daylight to say if this would actually be good in the real game. Floop, feel free to tell me otherwise. But anyways, make sure you subscribe to FloopTroop, because if you don't, you'll make him very sad. And then I'll have to deal with him. Please subscribe, I beg of you.
Okay, so I really like the idea of like a corruption process for Springtrap, and the arcade minigames as a way to like stop the corruption is incredible. I love the idea. But I'm honestly having like a hard time wrapping my head around how this power would actually like play out. So please let me know how it sounds to you guys. To me, it sounds fine, but I might be blinded by the fact that you get to play fun minigames while playing. Anyway, let's move on to the final power made by me, which is altered reality. Okay, so for my last power here, I want to try to keep things very simple, but I'm not so sure that I did that. For this power, Springtrap will have 3 forms that he can take up. These 3 being Spring Bonnie, Springtrap, and Glitch Trap, and they will all do different things. Granted that they would do like more simple things, but there is 3 of them, so it's fair enough. The way to switch like between them is by entering a locker and choosing which one to change to next. Keep in mind, this would be a different button on just how it is for wow, what the hell, cut that out. Keep in mind, to enter a locker, it would be a different button, just like how it is for Dredge. So you can still search lockers if needed. So let's go ahead and get into each, what the I can't speak, bro. So let's get into what each variant of Springtrap would do, starting with Spring Bonnie. So first up, Spring Bonnie, I think his main focus should be stealth. I thought this would be really fitting due to him being able to like lure 5 kids and unalive them without literally anyone knowing. He would be a 115 speed killer while in Spring Bonnie, and his terror radius would only be around 16 meters, making it way easier to sneak up on people. Within this mode, he's able to stalk survivors and fill up a little meter. Once his meter is full, the distance of his next lunge will be increased by 50%. Then the meter resets and you must stalk again. Keep in mind, you can only stalk survivors outside of your terror radius, so this can't be used during chase very well. But the key factor to this is that you can get an extra lunge ready and save it and use it on Springtrap instead. So there might be a lot of switching back and forth here. Next up is Springtrap himself. For Springtrap, I want him to be like the most aggressive one out of the 3. He'll be a little bit slower being at 110 movement speed, but he'll have a normal terror radius of 32 meters. But I made it 110 for a reason. In this normal Springtrap form, he's able to press his ability button and quickly turn into a phantom. This only lasts around like 2 seconds, but it will let him walk through nearby walls. So this wouldn't be like Nurse how she can just like quickly teleport a long distance through everything. It would be more just like controlled, like walking through one. It would also have like a lengthy cooldown of around like 20 seconds, and when exiting the mode, it will take a second. So it's not just like instant, it's not too strong. Remember, you can use that extended lunge sponge from a spring bunny right after exiting this phantom mode, so it could lead to a really nice combo. It also can't be used vertically because I feel like it would just get buggy as hell, I can't lie. And finally, we got Glitchtrap. Glitchtrap will serve as like an information gatherer type of thing. He'll be very interesting by having a normal 115 movement speed, but no tear radius. Just a 16-meter lullaby. The thing is about Glitchtrap is that he actually can't attack, and he could still be seen by survivors very faintly. It would just be like a grid lag design like this, and it would be like very glitchy when moving, but still really hard to see. Think kind of like Sadako when she's like manifested. It's like exactly like that. Once a survivor stays within 16 meters of Glitchtrap for around like 5 to 10 seconds, he's granted with the option to teleport into the mind of the survivor and see what they're seeing. This will include all current actions of survivors on the HUD, what perks this specific survivor has, and obviously being able to see where this current survivor is based off their surroundings. But then it would kick you out of this mode and it will go on cooldown for 30 seconds. I tried to keep this one simple, but I'm pretty sure I didn't. Anyways, I still love this idea, and it incorporates new mechanics which we haven't seen in DBD yet, which is always what I try to aim for when thinking of these. It just gets really difficult because DBD is a pretty limited game and there's already 38 different killers, so it's getting more difficult each time. Okay, now that all my parts are done, that leaves us with 2 more powers. So I thought, hey, why not get some theorists on board with this? It's kind of like making theories, in a way. So hey, the stage is yours, RyeToast.
This is something I've been thinking about for a while, and I've actually talked about my ideas for Springtrap as a killer on my own channel and a few other channels, but I've always talked about it assuming we're going to get the movie version of William Afton, the Yellow Rabbit. And frankly, even though I still think that's the most likely option, I would rather take this opportunity to talk about a game version of Springtrap, in the hopes that we actually get an official Scott-approved new model for Springtrap, and for the first time ever, a model for in-game Michael Afton post-scoop. So for talking about the game version of Springtrap, what would the ability and perks be? Movie or game, I think the best killer ability we could get for Springtrap is something probably called Puppet Master. The idea would be whenever you start a match as Springtrap, 4 animatronic animals spawn around the map. Then at any time when Springtrap uses his ability, he can shift between those animatronics, temporarily taking control of them. In a way, he's got 4 teleport spots that he can place throughout the map. Now to balance this out, the animatronics cannot knock you down. They can deal the first hit and temporarily restrain you, but they can't knock you prone. And they can't hold on to you forever, probably requiring something like the wiggle check to get out of. But think about how cool this would look in-game. Just 4 deactivated looking animatronics are on the map, but at any time, one of them could boot up and seek you down. Meanwhile, if you encountered Springtrap while he's in an animatronic, you would see him in that deactivated slumped over pose. I think it would be awesome, especially if the deactivated mode is just showtime when they're playing their music. But if we're talking about in-game perks, this is where my previous opinions differ. Because the movie version of Springtrap would definitely have references to the movie, I think the game version of Springtrap should have references to the game, which is why the first perk is Put You Back Together. Essentially, if you ever come across a sabotaged hook, you can press the interact button and repair that hook, making it impervious to sabotage and giving you a small boost for a short time, like a speed up, or maybe revealing the aura of which survivor sabotaged the hook. The next perk would lean on his obsession with Remnant, called Nothing Goes to Waste. Anytime Springtrap fully kills a survivor, he permanently gains a small speed boost, using their Remnant to repair himself. And finally, movie or game, he needs to have a perk called I Always Come Back. But as always, it's so tricky to design a perk around this title because like killers in Dead by Daylight don't get defeated. So my thinking is, if the gates open, all the survivors' auras are revealed to him for a short time or something like that. Something to give him a comeback. Now granted, I don't know if any of these perks are broken. I'm not a game designer, so I don't know if they're good or bad, but those are just my ideas for what would fit his character.
So yes, I know that this is another one with like 4 animatronics being used as a power. However, this one was different because there's no AI mechanics of them moving on their own. You would simply take control of them, and I don't know if they were all like active and like if like Foxy would be faster and whatnot, but I do really like this idea and I think it works really well. So good job on that. Now for the final power of the video, we got another theorist here with a really interesting idea. Take it away, Raven.
Hey everyone, thank you so much for having me here, FloopTroop. It means the world to me. So let's get into my idea for how the FNaF chapter is going to go. The killer will be Springtrap, obviously. However, lore-wise, it'll happen right after Pizzeria Simulator, where William goes into the Entities realm rather than Ultimate Custom Night. Springtrap's weapon would be either a knife or an axe. The knife animation would be a swipe, similar to Ghostface's, and for the axe, he'd grab his wrist and snap it back into position due to the rust that's built up over the years. Now we get to our powers. Springtrap will have 2 powers. The first power is called Remnant Collector. When Springtrap hits a survivor, they will drop Remnant while injured. Springtrap can collect this Remnant that tiers him up by 3 tiers. Tier 1 is a basic killer with all the works. However, his movement speed is slower than the average killer, but fast enough to catch a survivor, and he does not have access to his second power, Happiest Day. Once Springtrap collects enough remnant, he will tear up and release a scream, signaling to the survivors that he has teared up. He will move faster like a normal killer, and will have access to his power, Happiest Day. Springtrap could use Happiest Day to summon his old friends to torment the survivors. Springtrap could place the phantoms in windows, lockers, chests, and generators. When an item is haunted, survivors can hear a faint child crying and black ooze coming from this said haunted item. When a survivor interacts with this item, the item is blocked off for 10 seconds and they will be jump scared by the phantom, causing them to scream and reveal their location to Springtrap. Lastly, once Springtrap reaches tier 3, he will let out yet another scream, and the survivors will hear the FNaF 3 ambience noise at all times. When a survivor enters a 15-meter radius of Springtrap, they will scream and reveal their location to Springtrap and are slowed while in this radius. After 30 seconds, Springtrap will tear back down to tier 2. Well, that's all I have for this concept, so I hope you all enjoy it. Again, thank you FloopTroop for having me here, and I hope to be back in the future. Stay safe, have a great day, and peace out.
I think like a Myers type tier system would actually be really interesting for Springtrap. And the final power you have in tier 3 being called Happiest Day is like super fitting. I really love that name. Overall, I love the idea. Great job. But that does bring us to the end of all 10 powers. I just want to give a huge thanks to everyone including this video. All their links to the channels will be in the description below. I also want to give a huge thanks to you guys for being so patient while my videos take so long to make. You guys are the best, seriously. Please let me know what you guys think of all these powers and which one is your favorite. I would love to hear it in the comments below. All I know is that I can't wait for this summer to see his actual power. But yeah, that's it. Thanks for watching everyone, and I hope everyone has a fantastic day.